There was a challenge for Davante Adams yesterday in comparing his only NFL quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, to his college quarterback with whom he's been reunited in Derek Carr. Here's Davante Adams tiptoeing through that minefield.
I mean, it's tough to compare. It's really apples and oranges. Derek. I mean, it's just such a different ball game. I mean, obviously you have Aaron, who's cemented as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, and that's just like comparing me to like Jerry Rice. It'd be tough to do because Jerry's put together what he's done, and it's undeniable respect for him. And me, I'm still going, and there's still a lot that I got to do to be able to be mentioned with Jerry, and I'm aware of that, and I think Derek is also aware of that, from a big picture. But as far as talent and ability, I mean, it's really similar. If I'm keeping it real, Derek's arm strength and they throw the ball a lot different. Like Derek is going to fire it in there, and you're going to know that thing's coming quick. And Aaron's got the ability to just kind of tighten that core up and just flick the ball to you. So the release is a lot different, but being able to get the ball to you late, if they see you coming out of a break. Not many quarterbacks can get it to you before you get to the sideline, if you're outside the numbers already. But having two guys like that with really strong arms and understand the game and, the mental part of it is another similarity that they have is they both obsess over it and they know everything that's going on out there.
I appreciate that response from Davante Adams. It's very thoughtful, but at the same time, it creates the impression that Derek Carr is like in year 2 or 3. He's been around since 2014. Yeah. He was drafted the same year that Aaron Donald was, and Donald's been talking about retiring. Okay? So Derek Carr isn't the new kid on the block. Derek Carr is just the guy that has reached a level where he's kind of stuck. Is he going to be a top 10, top 5 guy, or is he going to continue to be closer to middle of the pack? Chris Sims has him at number 11 on the top 40 quarterback countdown. He would have been in the top 10 if Tom Brady had retired, but he ends up at number 11. And that's kind of where Carr is, and maybe Carr needs Davante Adams to bust into the top 10. Maybe that's what the message really should be, that Carr has a lot of the same skills. He just hasn't had the high-end receiving talent that Davante Adams brings to town. Maybe that really is, at the core, the difference. It's not who the guy is, it's the quality of the help that he has around him.
Well, but I would argue that Aaron Rodgers is going to be great. Now, maybe he's not going to be as great without Davante Adams, but it's just like Tom Brady. When you think about Josh McDaniel had Tom Brady in New England. The best receiver that he had there was Randy Moss, the year that Brady threw 50 touchdowns, I think it was, set the NFL record. Randy Moss was great that year, but this is the best receiver that Josh McDaniel has had since Randy Moss, and it's going to be interesting to watch. It's certainly the best receiver that Derek Carr has had. And Aaron Rodgers is going to miss him. But I think Aaron Rodgers will still be okay because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's still going to get the Packers to the playoffs, not to mention that they're in the NFC North. But the Packers are still going to be there. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have at least a chance to go to a Super Bowl. I don't know about the Raiders. It all comes down to Derek Carr. And as you said, Mike, this isn't a guy who's in his second, or we're not talking about Justin Herbert, who's going to his third year, who's never played a playoff game. Derek Carr played his first playoff game this past year. Hasn't won a playoff game. There aren't many starting quarterbacks in this league who get this long without taking their team to the playoffs, without winning a playoff game. It's been a long time since we've seen a guy keep his job without winning a playoff game, hasn't it? I mean, that's amazing to me that he's still the quarterback of the Raiders and yet hasn't won a playoff game as long as he's been there.
You're going to get blocked on Twitter by Derek Carr and by everyone in his family. That's what I've learned.
Well, maybe it is a receiver, though. Maybe it is.
When Derek Carr blocks you, his whole family blocks you simultaneously. But I think that it may be that Derek Carr has been the bright light in a sea of dysfunction in an organization. Maybe. We've heard story after story about how they can't get their act together in the front office. And we talked yesterday about how the last regime John Gruden and Mike Mayock were lukewarm at best on Derek Carr. Every year, Mayock talking about, well, we look to upgrade every position, including quarterback. I mean, at some point, you've got to say this is our guy. And I think that's what the Raiders are doing, at least for a year. They're going to try this all in with Derek Carr, and I think it's going to last more than a year, even though the contract is structured to let them walk away after one season. I don't think they will. They wouldn't have traded for Davante Adams if they weren't committed to Derek Carr. I think it's an effort to try to let Derek Carr finally flourish. Even if it is year 9, not year 3, they want him to flourish and maybe get to the playoffs and actually win a playoff game. They gave the Bengals everything they could handle in the wild card round, and the Bengals made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Another example of how the margins are so slim when you get to the postseason and anyone can win any given game. I would have liked to have heard Davante Adams comment on the differences in the personalities between Carr and Rodgers. Because, look, I mean, the Carr comes off as kind of hokey. The one thing they have in common is the fake country accent that pops out from time to time without warning. But Rodgers is more aloof. Rodgers is more distant.
Yeah.
Rodgers is more private. And I don't care what anyone says. It's obvious to me that Rodgers did not have a good feel for the mindset of Davante Adams before Rodgers committed to staying with the Packers, or he would have known that this is it, that Davante Adams wants to go back to Las Vegas. This isn't something that just came out of the blue that he's been hiding for 8 years. Again, if Aaron Rodgers is as smart as he thinks he is, and as everyone else seems to believe he is, he would have sensed something from Davante Adams over the last 8 years to suggest, at some point, probably have to worry about him wanting to go play for the Raiders. It's probably something we need to put on the radar screen. I think he wants to play for the Raiders at some point. He talks way too much about the Raiders and Las Vegas, and he really likes Derek Carr, and we just need to be sensitive to this. I think he was caught off guard by what happened, and it's a testament to the absence of a true personal relationship with Davante Adams. Hey, he has one with Randall Cobb. He was able to get Randall Cobb back. Randall Cobb's his buddy. I just get the impression that maybe he and Davante Adams never had the kind of connection that Adams and Carr established fairly immediately at Fresno State. And I think I saw a story not that long ago where it was during Davante Adams' recruiting that he and Derek Carr clicked and became basically lifelong friends.
Well, and he's going to help Derek Carr, no question about that. And he is going to help him become a better quarterback. At some point, though, Carr is going to have to make some plays to receivers other than Davante Adams and do some things to show that he is a top 10 quarterback, Mike. And Sims has him right there, but he needs to take that next step, and he hasn't done it. He has a chance to do it now. And as you said, I agree with you. I think it's more than a year. I think he's got a couple of years now to get it done. But he is running out of time. I mean, let's make no mistake about that. He is running out of time to get this done, and they feel like they've put the coaching staff around him, and now they've put the players around him, and I think they give him 2 years to prove that he can lead this team to a Super Bowl. And it's going to be hard, regardless of whatever else, playing in that division against all those other quarterbacks and all those other teams who, by the way, have upgraded aside from the Chiefs, also upgraded this offseason aside from the Chiefs. This is a tough division, and it's going to be tough for them even to win the division, much less win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years.
I think more than any other division in football this year, and maybe in any year that I can remember in recent years, and I'm 57 now, I can't remember many years, injuries will be the factor that determines who wins the AFC West. I mean, we can get on the hype train for any of the 4 teams. You can make the case for the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders. The great, not equalizer, but the great difference maker is going to be that injury that happens to the wrong player at the wrong time, that causes a team to lose the game, that causes them to be disqualified from playoff contention. It's a shame that it's going to come down to that. And if it doesn't come down to injuries, it's going to come down to bad call, or the flip side, the good call, benefiting from the bad call, or just some fluke thing, right? It's just going to be some fluke thing that makes the difference because the teams are more packed together than they are in any division in football.
Yeah, and as you said, Mike, maybe in the history of football, I mean, I can't remember a division that had this many great players in it and 4 really good quarterbacks in it, and they do. And it's going to be fun to watch these teams play. I mean, we could have these teams playing each other as primetime games all year long, and I think everyone would watch. And it's going to be exciting. It's a great division. Whoever wins that division, I don't even know that they'll get home field advantage, Mike, because I think they're going to beat each other up so much. That's going to be the thing, is they're probably the winner of that division is still going to have to go on the road to get to the Super Bowl, which is going to make it a little bit harder. Just winning the division and then having to go on the road could be really difficult for that team to end up in the Super Bowl, because I do think they're going to beat up each other a lot.
Well, one of the reasons why the Titans was the 1 seed last year, because they were coming out of the weakest division in the conference, and it was easier for them to pile up the wins necessary to be that 1 seed.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.